Alrighty guys, welcome back. This week we're doing a Kia video. So I don't remember if you guys remember the last video. Those of you that have been with me a while, we had a chirp going on here for a while and I thought the power steering pulley was the one that was walking. We do have a walking pulley, but it's not the power steering pump. So I'll get it started. You'll hear the chirp and then I'll try to focus you in on what we're going to do today. So we won't have it running for very long because I don't need the car warming up. Oh, now it ain't going to do it. Anyway, I'll show you what we're here for. See it down there? It's walking. It's hard to see, but I can see it. Causing a whole bunch of commotions. Let me see if I can get it to chirp if you turn the air conditioning on. Because it usually does it really good under a load. Let me get you where you can see the belts real quick. I'll turn the air on and it should chirp. There it is. That's our chirp. Alright, let me turn everything back off. Okay, now I'm kind of confused. Alright, so we got a bunch of belt material right around that alternator. But our harmonic balancer is jumping around. Not enough to make a big deal though. Alright, so before we start tearing stuff apart, let's do what we normally do in this situation. I'll shut the car off. We'll pull the belts off the pulleys, and we'll grab each pulley and we'll shake it. Find out which one's making the noise. We do have a bad pulley, we got to find it. So, if you're unfamiliar with these Kias, they use a system similar to Honda when it comes to taking the belts loose. You can probably see one right here in frame. Down here there's a threaded bolt right there. We got to take that one loose. That'll get the power steering pump loose. We've got a bolt. I think it's underneath the power steering pump I got to take loose. And then we've got to undo the alternator belt. Probably need to get this thing out of the way. So I'm going to have to find you another place to sit. So let me put you over here for the moment. We'll get our space opened up and then we'll start working. So this is really easy to take off. There's 10 mil nuts and then there's a 10 mil bolt up there and that comes off. I think we can leave the oil cap on. Let me grab those real quick. Regardless of where this little trip takes us today, it's going to be, we got to have this cover off. So We're going to take the belts off. We're going to find out which belts. Well, the one that's squealing is the alternator belt. Because if you turn the air conditioning on, it just pulls the engine down like it normally would, but it doesn't cause the squeak. So the belt that's causing us problems is the alternator belt. And if you looked at the alternator, you'd see that we've got a bunch of rubber on it, which is belt material. Which, if we've got belt material on our alternator, that means that that's where our squeak is. But regardless of what we do, we're going to take our belts off. We're going to examine the belts. We're going to check our pulleys. And we're just going to get on with life. So, we're going to start with the one you can see, which is right over here, the power steering belt. So take the power steering loose. There's a nut under here that you got to put a 14 mil socket on, or ratchet on, and then you can take it loose through the hole in the front of the the power steering pump. So in order to get that one done, we got to take that nut loose and loosen this bolt, and I think they're all 14 millimeters, so we'll start with that. Get this nut loose first. Forgot how tightened. How much I tightened that up. You don't have to take this one loose. That one right there is just for the pulley. Or that's actually just for this bracket right here. But you can spin this loose here. And that's what we're going to do with the ratchet. We're just going to spin it loose. And then, because the car always shuts off where that hole in the front of the pulley is in the wrong spot, we're going to have to loosen this up first, like this. And then put your hand down here and push down on it a little bit. As soon as we can get a little bit of slack on that, we can probably get that nut loose. Or you might get lucky and get it loose without having to go after the bolt head. That's how I did it last time. Alright, and then you take your 14 wrench and get my 13 for the alternator belt. Take your 14 flexi head and just stick it down in here like this. Make sure you're in the right direction. And check it, you can do this with it. I gotta flip this around. Just get this way then. Look at that, you got it loose. And I should be able to push this down. If I got it loose enough to where that thing will pivot, I think I did. Yeah, we did. We got it loose enough to pivot. Yeah, we got it loose enough. We should be able to shove this down now. Yeah, it wants me to loosen up this pin right here, so we'll just loosen this one up too. Let me see if I can get it to go. Sorry about the noise, they're doing construction over on the next road, so I'm just going to have to live with the noise. There we go, now it's moving. You should see it move. And we got to go ahead and we got to loosen this up some more. And we can shove it down whichever way it goes to get my belt loose. Sometimes you can grab the belt and pull back on it like this, and it'll loosen the belt up as you go. You see which way this has to go. See, I guess that has to be loose for this to pivot. Make sure all your bolts are loose. Don't take them out, just make sure they're loose. If I remember right, I had to go all the way to the end of the bolt on this front one. Back one, not so much. The back one kind of moves a little bit easier. It's just a lot harder to get to, so we're not going to film that part. What I'll do though is I'll get that done and then I'll bring you back to get the belt off. So this is our front belt. So we'll go ahead and we'll shove this down and get our front belt off. This one we just put on not too long ago, so it's still in good shape. I did the back belt when I did the alternator, so that one's still good. This is why you got to crank this out all the way. We almost got the belt off, but we got a lot of room left to go on it, so we got to crank this out some more. Push this down as far as you can so that belt comes off. And then you want to pull it off the pulleys. Get it straight up out of there. You got to get past the power steering, the air conditioning, and the front of the harmonic balancer is what this belt goes on. So you're going to have to just kind of work it around here. There's a plastic guard on the bottom. If you don't remember that part, you'll remember it in about a minute when you try to get this belt out, because it's going to get caught on that guard down here. It doesn't get caught on the clutch of the air conditioning. And now this belt, you can reach up underneath the car. You can get it past the pulleys. You can reach up underneath the car and grab the belt like this. And there's your belt right there. So this is a fairly new belt. It did squeak at one point. We need to check it for damage. Well, let's see. Checking our belt for damage. Alright, so this is our Dayco belt number. This is your front belt. So this belt, we will just set it to the side. If you want to mark it, you can mark it P/S AC, and then that way you know it's a power steering and AC belt, which I'm going to do because I'll forget. And I'm going to go ahead and just pop the back belt off real quick. Like I said, it's a pain in the butt, and I'm not going to film it because if you've watched the alternator video, you know how to get the belt off. So I'll be back in just a minute. Alright, so we got tire pulled off. I don't know if you can see much, but we got tire pulled off. We got to take this cover off right here. That's got the, I think it's got a clip right there, and I think there's one flat right here on the bottom. And I don't know what happened to my trim tool remover, or my trim attachment tool, but I don't know where it went. So we're going to do it old-fashioned way today. We'll get a flat zip in there. Try to get it worked out, and then I can pop this out. It's supposed to be a bolt that holds that in, but the bolt broke off a long time ago, back before we bought the car. So, if you have a bolt, I think it's like a 12 mil. Pull this out. And we're going to have to get in here in the back, take a screwdriver and just kind of pry forward on it, pop that out, set it over here in your wheel cap, and see that pops down. There's your harmonic balancer right there. We're probably going to change it just for safety because of its rustiness. Trying to take all the rusty off this car and see how much car we got left. Probably won't have much because it's a rusty mess, but you know, we're doing what we can here, folks. Alright, and I got another one up under here I got to be careful with because the plastic's broke on this side. So I need to, on parts that have broken holes like this, instead of putting it up against the back side of the cover, you're going to put it up behind the back side of the attachment piece. That way you're pushing against the attachment piece, not the cover. And when you can pull it out like that, and there's that part done. We got our attachment hardware out, and then we just take this, and this has got another one in it right there that we forgot about. So we got one back up in there we got to get, and then this cover comes off. So I'll get up in there like this, and I'll wiggle that one back and forth. Some of these, well, these should come out pretty simple because they're fairly new. I haven't had these in here for very long. Last time I had to do anything on this car, I put belts on it. I can show you a neat little hack that I did here too for that. If you got one of these cars that's got the wheel weight, and you're driving down the road one day and you hear your axle sounding like the church bells, and you get underneath and you see this metal ring just bouncing around on your axle shaft, and then you notice that there's a rubber that's supposed to be attached to the inside of the metal part. Well, I can show you a neat little hack that I did to solve that problem. Did that last summer, and it's still functioning, so it must be working. I don't know if you can see it too well, but I'll get you a good view of it right here. Yeah, you see that right down there? Zoom in real quick. That's your weight for your axle. And yes, those are zip ties holding it together, because the inside has a metal attachment that the rubber is a part of. So I just ran some zip ties through it. Holds the rubber in place. Doesn't sound like church bells no more. So something you could consider if you have to do that. I mean, the axle will eventually get changed because, you know, they do wear out. But until it does, we're going to fix it that way. Alright, so I have to take this cover off, because up in the back, right up in here, I don't know if you can see it too well, right up in here, that's the front of the bolt. The head of the bolt is back there. I think it's a 13 millimeter. And I remember this because of when I had to change the alternator in this car, back when we did when we were doing the lines on the car and we had the car sitting up. The car didn't run for a while, and I went to start it, and that belt started squealing, and it was because the alternator locked up. And then we did an alternator video, which I've got a lot of comments on. Some people say I did it wrong. Some people say that's how they had to do it. So a lot of contention needs to which way you get this thing out of here. But I'm going to tell you what, however you do it, you know, just get it done. It's all that matters. You just got to get it done. I don't know where this wire came from, but we need to find an attachment for it by the end of the day today. And that bolt is not a 13, it is a 14. Which is strange because the rest of the car is either 12 or 13. Except for this one bolt. And you don't have to take the bolt out to do this, you just have to loosen it. So when you loosen up the adjuster on the top side, it will work. And then we're going to take this belt off and we're going to check it. And let me see if I'm going the right way. I think I am. Let's see here. I gotta look at the threads on the bolt. Threads will tell you which way to go. Alright, so I need to go the other way. I gotta pull up. I think that's how we're gonna do it. I gotta pull up. So we're gonna get our wrench in position here. And I'm going to try to lift up on it, see if that makes it come loose. Yeah. We're going to have to get blue on it because I don't have enough leverage with this wrench. So we're going to get blue on it. He's already set for off. So we'll get in there with blue. He's already got the extension and everything on. So all I got to do is just hook it up and go. Let me see if I can get you a better view of this thing. I'm not sure if I can. Yeah, you can kind of see it. We're right here. right there. That's your lower alternator bolt, and this is your alternator belt right here. We're going to check the belt. I've already done a visual on the alternator, and we've got some debris on the alternator, so that tells me that the pulley's off center somewhere. I don't know if it's on the alternator part or if it's on the harmonic balancer, because it only goes around the harmonic balancer. No, wait, the inside belt goes around the water pump, so we got to wiggle the water pump too. If the pump pulley is weak on the water pump, then the pump's got to be changed. If it's weak on the alternator, I don't know why I'm saying weak for, but I'm looking at this harmonic balancer pulley and I'm seeing a rusty mess. And since everything else looks fairly well as far as health goes, I'm going to say for about 90% sure that we're going to be changing the harmonic balancer pulley today. Now, whether or not that solves our problem, I'm hoping it does, because the only thing wrong with this car is that squeaking. It's going to end up leaving the owner of this established vehicle stranded. So we got that loosened up in there quite a bit, I think, because well, we got a little bit of here. All right, now I'm going to pause you again, get back up top, take the rest of it loose, then we'll come down here and we'll grab this belt and we'll pull down on it, take this belt off, and then we'll check our belt, and then I'm going to start spinning pulleys, so I'll be right back. All right, I got everything loosened up, so let's grab our belt and tug on it. And there it is. Take the belt off like this. You gotta walk it off, then you gotta pick it up over the water pump, up off the alternator, and down it goes, just like that. And then let's take a minute here and we'll inspect our belt. And I can see where it's been squeaking. All right, let me show you. You see how shiny it is in there? That's where it's been squeaking. I don't see any missing material on the outside, so it's not tearing the belt up, it's just squealing. All right, so here's the next thing we need to do. We've got evidence on our alternator, so I need to spin the alternator, see if I hear anything funny going on. Then I need to spin the water pump and see if I feel anything funny going on there. You see all this rust in here? This is why we're changing this out. We got to take that bolt out, and then that pulls this harmonic balancer out. But I think if we take these bolts out right here, we can separate the pulley. I don't know. I haven't done this yet, so let's get you up top and see what we can do about figuring out which pulley's screwing up. Up we go. Alright, so we can see our pulleys down there, I guess, maybe. Not really. You can't see nothing really. There we go. Now you can see our pulleys. We got our alternator down there. I'll shine a light on it so you can see it. There's our alternator. Here's our water pumps down here. We know it's not the power steering because that belt's not doing anything. So let's see if our power steering pulley's loose, or our water pump pulley's loose. You can also check this by putting a and we got a little play on our water pump, but I can't tell if that's, yeah, I'm thinking it might be the pump because I can see it rocking. Yep, I can see it rocking. So she might need a water pump here soon. And on the See if I can get down here on the... Hard to get your hand down in here to do anything. The part that bothers me about this is there's a bunch of rubber debris up inside the back there. There's no rubber debris. Well, there's some rubber debris around the water pump. There's a little bit around the harmonic balancer. So my next question is, if I were to change the harmonic balancer like we were planning to do today, how long before the water pump gives up? Because it looks like we got a little bit of play in our water pump, but it's not leaking. I usually don't change those until they start leaking. So she's only got about 75,000 on this car, so it's really not that much. I don't know how long Kia goes on their water pumps, but that thing's going to be a massive ordeal to change because of how it's jammed up against the engine like that. So I guess the next step's going to be, we're going to go ahead with our original plan, and we're going to go ahead and pull our harmonic balancer pulley off, being careful not to damage the seal, because there is a seal back there. Then we'll get the new pulley installed, and then we'll check it again for squeaks. So let's see what size that bolt is. See, it looks like it might be a 24. Nope, it's a 21. I think it's a 21 millimeter. If it is, I got one right here. Alright, let's see what we can do here, folks. Yep, it's a 21 mm. So we'll go ahead and we'll get our short. We don't need all the thousands of attachments on this thing, because the more extensions you add, the less torque you have to break stuff loose with. So you want to do it with as little between your tool and the part as possible. Got it set nuclear. Let's pop that bolt out. There it is. You seen the mountain of rust falling out from it too? I sure did. And then this one, I think, just comes out like you just grab it and wiggle it and it comes right off. So let me set you over here to the side so I got room to wiggle. I think this one's one of them you just grab it and you just kind of rock it back and forth till it comes off. Like this. There it is. There's your harmonic balancer. You can see your timing belt back there. So we have to reuse the back here, so that means we're going to have to get this on the bench and get them bolts out. So in a minute we will have our segment of on the bench this week where we take our pulleys off of this so that we can reuse the backing plate. So I'll be right with you. Alright, on this week's episode of On the Bench, we're going to separate this backing plate from the pulleys that we need to replace. To do that, you're going to need a 10 millimeter socket. If you have a bench vise, you can put it in your bench vise. I have a bench vise, but it's in the shed, so we're going to just do it like this. I'm going to put that like that. I'm going to put my gun on it. Set the off. We're going to just gently get these bolts out. Like that. Pretty easy. And then this one's still got the zinc still on it, so that's a good bolt. There's that part, and then there's this part here. And then you gotta separate this part here. So to do that, we're gonna go, I do know we gotta probably pop it out of this center right here. Which means we're probably gonna have to go stuff it in a vise, and we're gonna have to smack it with a hammer and socket. So let me get you set up in the back, and we'll get you on this alternative plan B. Well, I'm getting conflicting imagery here. I did some Google searching, and some of them show this piece is missing. You have to install it, and then there's some of them, like the Dorman one, where that's part of the unit. So we're going to pop it out just in case we need it, and if we don't need it, at least we know how it comes apart. Usually how I like to do things. So we've got a couple ideas we can do here. Get a socket big enough to fit the center, and then we smack it with a hammer. Or, yeah, see, that'll work. We can, well, probably something smaller than that. We can get something smaller than that, like maybe this, I think I got a 27 in here too. I can probably get an extension on this, like a long extension we can put on there to have the handle for, and we can smack it through that way. Yeah, see, that works great. Then I have an extension in here I can put on it. I'll find it. Yeah, here we go. And then I've got a hammer down here. Find it. Yeah, here we go. I'm just tearing around in my toolbox, don't mind me. So we can go ahead and do this with it. We can stick it like that, set it up like that, and smack it through. So we'll see what we can do here. Yep, that seems to be the trick right there. That seems to be doing it. Oh, there's our bottom. Now we got to get our socket back. So then we'll flip it back over like this. And we'll use our socket extension like that, and we'll tap it back through. And there's our pulley. Our pulley has been removed, and all we had to do is smack it out with a 27 mil socket. This part here, if you look at it, you'll see it's got a dimple hole right there. That lines up with a dimple hole right there. That guarantees alignment, and that also guarantees a balance. So this ain't bad, so what we'll do is I'll take some brake clean. We'll clean it up real quick. I'll set you out the doorway here so you can see me do that. Alright, we'll take our brake clean here and we'll just kind of clean that up like that. And we'll grab a rag. Pop a rag off our hair like that, and we'll just kind of wipe this down, get it all cleaned up again. If you got a wire wheel available, you can put it on the wire wheel. Now, if yours has any special markings on the back, like this one, I think it's where it's rubbed up against the pulleys. Just get it all nice and cleaned up, all pretty like. And there's our center. That's our actual harmonic balancer. That's what the car uses to operate. We'll set that over here on our shelf. Take a look at our pulley real quick. You see, here's our pulley. See that dimple right there? That's an alignment dowel pin. It comes out right on the other side. So that's our dowel pin. What you can do, if you're questioning true, is find a flat surface. Lay this down on the flat surface, whether front or back, doesn't matter. And then take a level, run a level across it, and see if the bubble's off. I don't need to do that because I've already seen it wobble. And that thing's on there good enough to where the pulleys are pretty much done. Plus it's rusty as all get out, and it doesn't have much left for this world, so we're going to go ahead and replace it. So I'm off to the parts store to grab the new one, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright, we have returned. We've got our hub, and then we've got our balancer. So this one's got two different part numbers. If it's an ATP, that's your part number for your ATP. If it's Dorman, this is your Dorman part number right here. And I don't know why it's acting choppy on me, so if the video's choppy, I apologize. That's how it recorded. Can't do nothing about it. I'm at the mercy of technology today, folks. So like I showed you in the last video, we have our dowel pin hole here. So then you're going to set this like that. You're going to find your corresponding spot right here. And this doesn't have a dowel pin in it. It's supposed to have a dowel pin in it. Well, ain't that some crap. I guess I'm supposed to put a dowel pin in it? I don't know. Well, let's see. Should be able to press this on like this. Yeah, let me see. Let's do something different here. Let's not press it on right now. Let's pop it back off quick. We're going to do something different with this one. We're going to set it down like this. We're going to flip it over since we don't have a dowel pin. We need to line our holes up for said dowel pin. Well, guys, I've been doing this for 30 years, and never in 30 years have I been able to get the original dowel pin out of the old harmonic balancer ever, and it just came right out, popped right out. So I guess what we can do now is pop it in this hole right here, and then we use our punch right here and we punch it into the new hole. And then what we'll do before we tighten this down, we'll take the screws back out and we'll make sure that we have it centered perfectly. We'll make sure that the dowel pin is in the proper location, then we'll tighten these bolts up. And we can use the impact on it. We'll set it to level 1, which is the lowest setting. Look at that. It actually landed in the hub, which is great, because then we can do this with it. We can do that with it. Look at that. It actually did what I didn't want it to do. So we can go ahead and put these bolts back in now. For the last time, everything will be centered because it's in the hole in the hub. And then we can go ahead and let the train go by. You're going to use your impact when you got a rigid gun. Go to level 1, that way you don't destroy it. See, level 1. And just run it down till it clicks. Hold it with one hand, tighten it down with the other. Do that one, and we'll come over here and we'll do this one. And we'll do this one. Make sure that it's all nice and solid here. We'll take our ratchet and we'll just make sure that it's tight. We don't want to tighten it with the impact because these are small bolts, so they don't take much. There's that one. Do opposite corners, so we did that one, so we'll do this one next. And then we'll do this one next. Screw that one back down. We could probably put a 3-inch extension on here so that we're not hitting the bolts crooked like this. Do it like that. And then tighten it by hand, don't tighten it with the impact. You might have to go over it a couple of times until they're all solid. So you're going to just go back around like this. And you go back around like this. And then you go back around like that. Then we'll take the punch and we'll make sure our pin's down all the way. Like that. Our pin's down. I'll show you what it looks like here in a second. And there you go. Your hub's ready to go back on your car. So I'll get you broke down. We'll get you in front of the car. We'll start putting our belts and stuff back on. We'll call this video done. Okay, if you used your impact to tighten down those bolts, make sure you crank it back up to full so you can get the harmonic balancer bolt back into the engine. So we're going to get this back together. And then, let's see, we need to get you over here so I can get in there. So we'll just kind of see if we can get the camera to, we'll zoom in a little bit here. How about that? There we go. There's what we want. You can see the key sticking out right here for the harmonic balancer, where it says STS matches up on the back of our pulley here. There's the STS on the back of our pulley right there. So all we got to do now is just put this back on that keyway, press it back up on there where it was. While you're in here, you want to check this area down through here where your timing belt attaches to the crank. Make sure that if you got any worn teeth or anything, that you take note of it and change out the bottom gear. We're looking pretty good on this one, so we're going to just pop this back on. So line this Woodruff key back up, shove it back on. Make sure it's nice and straight. Like that. We're back in business. Everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and put our bolt back in. Hand tighten it down as far as you can. When you stop, then you can go ahead and hit it with your gun. I think the torque for this is somewhere around 140 foot-pounds, but don't quote me on that. If you have access to service information, this would be the time to use it. I don't, because Kia service information for this car is pretty scarce. So go ahead and get that tightened back up. Call that done. And then we get our pulley, get our belt back on for our. Alright, so our belt for, let me zoom back here so you can see what we're doing. Alright, so we got our new harmonic balancer on. When you put your belts on, this is the belt that goes first. Okay, so this belt's going to go numbers facing out, and it goes on the back pulley. So you're going to reach for the back pulley. Oh, one thing that you might want to do if you have questions about diameter, because they do make a couple different diameters for this belt or this harmonic balancer. Take the old harmonic balancer and line it up to the pulleys by setting the fronts together and the backs together. If everything matches up, you're good to go. If you've got a big enough micrometer, you can mic it out. Same thing, you're going to go from outside to outside on both pulleys. I'm going to confidently say this is the right one because it's the only one I can find. And there's not a lot of aftermarket support for Kias, as you could tell, especially this year. So got my belt on. I'm going to crawl up top, wrap it around the water pump and the alternator. Then we'll be ready to tighten the alternator back up. So you get to watch the belt move. I'll set you right here. You can watch the belt move while I mess with it up top. Alright, so let's see. We got to reach down in here. This is a really hard job to do, especially because this car is so small. And my hands are so big. I'm going to pull this belt up, put it on the water pump. Then you got to reach over, put it on the alternator. And then after you get that part done, then you got to crawl back down underneath. And you see how it's sticking out. You got to pull down on it, walk it on the pulleys, one at a time, just like this. Make sure as you're doing it that everybody's happy. We got to pull down on the alternator some more because I don't have enough to get it on the pulley, and you don't ever want to use a screwdriver to pry that on there. You will rip the threads in the belt. Different than mine. And I got to get this thing to push down some more so I can get my belt on, because it's coming around fine on the water pump side, but it's not coming around fine on the alternator side, so I gotta push down. Or I could do this with it. I could always run it backwards like this, run it up that way, and then I can just somewhat, as soon as I get it on there we go. Sometimes, if you're lucky enough, you can do this little trick. Grab your pulley and you crank on it. Depends on how much compression your engine has in it. If your engine's got a lot of compression in it, then it ain't gonna work. Another thing you can do, which is what I'm about to do, is this. Take your pulley down, take it off the alternator side, like this. Get it all the way around your water pump and your harmonic balancer. Then you can push it up onto your alternator. I think that's how I did it last time. Or if you got air conditioning, you're going to have a line or 200 million in the way, so you're going to have to just look around it. But usually that's how I do it. And that one didn't do what I wanted it to do. Alright, so we're going to pull this one back off. We got to get it all lined up on the bottom pulley. I got to get it off the alternator again. It's hard to do when you got stuff in the way. Belt come off. I can reach up under here and get it. I know that for a fact. I've done this before. You gotta pull this up off of here. Get it off that pulley. Then you pull it off the alternator pulley. I'm telling you, belts on the Kia are really not that bad. It's just this Kia likes to fight me. It's fought me since we've had it, since I brought it home from New York. And I'm noticing that I've got a lot of shiny on my alternator. I'm going to show you the shiny. I'm going to take you off the pod so you can see what I'm talking about. Alright, zoom in on that right there. You see all that shiny? That's from the belt. Because there's supposed to be paint there to act as a resistance. All that black you see on the front of the alternator, that's from the belt. That's why we changed the harmonic balancer pulley, because the harmonic balancer pulley was causing that to become shiny. So I'm hoping that this will fix the problem. Of course, the car's going to need a water pump, and I've already priced one out. It's about the same cost as this harmonic balancer. But I think in order to do the water pump on this, we're going to have to jack the engine up, because it's up front, yes, but it's not easy to get to. It's actually rather difficult to get to. You got to take a motor mount off to get it off the car. So yeah, we're going to have fun getting that one off. Trying to pull this pulley closer so I can grab my belt, because I'm on my pulleys now. Well, no, I'm not. I'm on the. Let's get that back part in. There we go. And then you just walk it on the alternator. Or you try to anyway. That alternator should be low enough for this to fall on, but sometimes it won't. And it's trying to fight me today, so I'm going to go and cry a spell. No, I won't. I need to get this alternator to fall more. Got to come down a good bit. You guys didn't see that, but it fell by a lot, and that's what I wanted, because I got to get this alternator back up on this pulley. I got to get the bottom. Oh, now we got the rib on the car, so we're now fighting the rib on the car. 20 minutes to put on an alternator belt. No, it doesn't take that long. It takes that long when your car wants to fight you. Let me see if I can get it to come down some more. You almost have to push this thing all the way completely down. There we go. If I pull it forward, I can get the belt off. Just this thing to come on. Or, let's try this one. Put the belt back on the alternator, and I'll try to push it up on the harmonic balancer. Either way, the alternator's going to move. There's on the alternator. Alright. Roll it over. It gets on the pulley here. I'm trying to get it to walk itself on here, but Alright, so our back belt's on, ready to go. Now we're not going to tighten that one up until we got the front belt on. That way, in case we have a problem, it's not tightened up enough. So let's get the front belt on. Okay, so front belt goes like this. Let me bring you up top side so you can quit looking at the bottom. Alright, let me get you off my truck. There we go. Alright, so here's our power steering line right over here. I'll get you over here so you can see what we're doing. So numbers face out. I marked it power steering, AC, and I put the arrow. Arrow means it goes like this. That's what that means, okay? In case you're confused. Now this one runs the air conditioning, which also is shiny, the power steering pump, which is also shiny, and it runs off the harmonic balancer. But this belt wasn't squealing. It was the other belt. So you get to watch me put this one on. This one's a little easier. Just grab it from underneath, put it down here on the harmonic balancer. Then you reach out from the top, because it should be lined up with the air conditioning. If you have non-AC, then you'll just hook it to your power steering. If you don't have power steering and AC, then this belt is irrelevant. You see how it's not getting on the air conditioning? That's when you got to crawl underneath the car like this. You got to look up, see where it's at, and you just have to guide it on there. It's a little easier said than done. So I'm going to take my belt, take it off the pulley, and then put it back on the harmonic balancer pulley after I've got it mounted to the air conditioning. And there you go. And you pull on it from the bottom, because if it fell off the other pulleys, you'll feel it. While you're under here, take your hand and clean off the front of your alternator so that you don't have an alternator burn out. Alright, so you got your belts on, your brand new pulley. We're going to tighten up the front belt first, which is real easy. Alright, we make sure that everything is in the groove. All your grooves are lined up. Grab our 14 mil, switch it back to on. Now if you have an electric ratcheting wrench, and I do, this will go much faster, but I'm going to do it this way because I feel like it. And all you're doing is you're going to watch this upper belt, this power steering belt is going to tighten up, and you're going to see your belt go from looking loose to tighten. What you want to do is you want to get this, I think the measurement's a 1/4 inch deflection. If you have a belt deflection tool, then you can use it right here. You just got to find a spot where you can reach on it and get to it. A lot of times all you got to do with this is just tighten it up until the bolt stops. Of course that might be too tight, so you're going to leave everything loose until you have ran the car. That way, if it's still squealing, you can shut the car off, tighten it up a couple turns, start the car up. When you start the car up and it doesn't squeal, then you can tighten everything down and put your cover back on. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get the belts tightened up to as far as we can get them. Sometimes on the back of this arm right here, you'll see a witness mark. Depending on the type of belt you have, you can use that witness mark and put your belt back in adjustment. So I can't grab it from that side, so I'm going to reach underneath, and I'm not going to pull on the belt, but I'm going to push on the belt. And it feels pretty tight, so I'm going to stop right there. Okay? Now I'm going to get on the back. And the back's going to be a little bit easier because I've loosened it up enough. So to get on the back, you're going to go back over here. I'm going to set you right in here. And you see where that red stuff is right here? There's a spot back here for a 12 mil wrench. And we're going to get our 12 mil wrench back there on this bolt. I'm going to figure out which way we got to turn it. I think it goes the other way. Yep, it goes this way. Nope, it goes the other way. Gotta turn our ratchet around here. And we're going to tighten this bolt. Alternatively, if you wanted to, and I've done this on this car, you can grab this center section here that this all connects to. You can pull up on it and then lock the adjustment bolt down that's on the front. You can lock that bolt down and then just spin the adjustment bolt down to where it stops turning. You can do that if you're in a hurry. Because see, what you're going to do is it's going to come back and it's going to come up. So what you need to do is you need to spin this bolt down by hand till you can't turn it. Then you can put your wrench on it, tighten it down. Again, don't tighten anything up. Now on the alternator side, you can tighten up the adjustment bolt lockdown bolt, which is a long bolt that goes through the bracket. That's a lockdown bolt. You can tighten that down just enough to keep it from moving, but don't tighten it down any further. And that's really loose, so we're going to have a lot of turning to do here. But you almost need a ratcheting wrench to do this. There are some situations where you can take a screwdriver, you can lock it into one of the holes in the front of the alternator. If you're careful, you can pry on it, and that will also tighten this belt up. What we used to do back in the day is we would take a pry bar, put it up against the pulley, and pry back on it. And then we would tighten down the bolt, and that would be your adjustment. But on these newer cars, you don't have any room to put a pry bar. You just have to deal with what you got. And that's what we do. Alright, so we got to turn that thing outwards. That's how we tighten it up. We got to turn it outwards. So if you're turning inwards, you're loosening it. If you're turning outward, you're tightening it. So I got to turn it back around to where it was the other way. And then we can get this bolt in here. See, now we're going to start tightening up our post. This belt has to be the same tightness as the front belt. You turn it for a little bit, and then you'll reach underneath the car and grab it, pull down. You'll push up on the belt. You won't pull down on it. You'll push up because you're checking deflection. You always push when checking deflection. At least I always have. Alright, and I'll reach underneath, grab my belt and push up on it. Alright, it's almost there. I think it's tight enough. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our socket right here, and this bolt down here, we're going to tighten it up, but we're not going to like torque it down until we're confirmed on the tightness of our belt. Because if we have to tighten it up anymore, we're going to have to loosen this back up. So we're going to tighten this up enough to hold it in place so that we can start it. And after we've ran it, we're going to put a load on it like we did before. We're going to turn the headlights on. We're going to turn everything on. If we hear a chirp, we need to tighten the belt up. If we don't hear a chirp, then we can lock it down. So that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to pull you back off the car so that you don't get in the way. We're going to start the car up, and we're going to listen for the audible chirp. If we don't hear the audible chirp, then we're going to lock it down. We're going to put our tire back on. Our skid plate cover goes back on over our belt, and our cover goes on over our spark plugs, and this thing can go to work. So that's what we're going to do here. So let me get you in position. Alright, so we're going to start it up and just listen for the audible chirp, chirp, chirp. I don't mean the birds in the background. Let me get this stuff out of here so that we can work. You never want to leave tools on a car. Ask me how I know. I've lost quite a few tools in my day. I'll go grab a key and I'll be right back. Alright, let's see if we got it fixed. See if we got it fixed. I got the high beams on, I got the fan motor on high, I've got the air conditioning on, and I'm not hearing a chirp. So I think we got our problem fixed. I'm going to go ahead and shut it off, button this up, and ship it. It was just that easy, folks. So while I'm tightening it up, let's wrap this up. I'm going to get you in position here so I can tighten these bolts up. We'll wrap it up and we'll talk. Alright, so that bolt needs to be tightened up and that nut needs to be tightened up down there. Alright, so what did we learn? We learned that you can have a squeak from the harmonic balancer. Why? Because the harmonic balancer is the driving pulley. Okay, so your harmonic balancer is attached to your crankshaft. When the car's running, that's how your accessories work. When you have a damaged or warped harmonic balancer pulley, you get a chirp. It may not be as audible as the one that we have, but you will get a chirp. So then you're asking yourself, if that's the problem, why did we check the other pulleys? That's a great question. We checked the other pulleys for potential other issues in the event that this didn't fix it. Because not every pulley or not every harmonic balancer is bad. You may have a perfectly fine harmonic balancer and you might have a problem with the... Oh my God, can I actually get in there and get that bolt? Oh my goodness. Call that good. I got in there and got that bolt. Car shut off at the right point. And tighten this bolt down. Sometimes your squeak can come from an alternator belt or alternator pulley. Most likely if you have an external water pump, you can have a bad water pump pulley. Usually if the pulley's bad, the pump's bad, because the pump is just, or the pulley is part of the pump. So if you have a water pump pulley squealing, you got a bad water pump. You just change the water pump and you go on with your day. Power steering pump, that can go bad, yes. Like I thought the belt was acting up because of the power steering belt, and it was not. And I just lost my damn bolt. My socket was stuck on there. Got it back though. Got it back. So anything that runs a belt, such as your idler or your tensioner, on cars that have idlers and tensioners, those pulleys go bad. They can also cause belts to break, such in the case of our 01 Ranger, where the timing belt broke because the tensioner pulley for the timing systems got some play in it. That's why you always check your pulleys for walking, or wobble. That's another good name for it, called wobbling. Because if you want to guarantee that you don't have a problem, you need to guarantee that all your hardware is good, or all your pulleys are good. And then after you do that, you'll be good to go. Now you might ask yourself, why did I condemn the harmonic balancer? It wasn't because it was rusty. No, that had nothing to do with it. That was a big contributor, but it was not the primary cause. The primary cause was because as I'm watching that sucker rock back and forth, that pulley controls the movement of the other pulleys in the system as long as it's connected. So I'm going to look at that as a cause for any problems, because that's going to be the one that drives everything. Now, if that pulley was fine and I had a chirp and I took it all apart and that water pump was walking a lot more than what it was, I'd be putting a water pump on it right now, because that's your logical next step. If the chirping only happened when I turned on the air conditioner, or it happened when I turned the steering wheel, I'd be looking at either the power steering pump pulley, which you can change, or I'd be looking at the air conditioner. Now, if the air conditioner is the problem, that's a little harder to figure out, because that's got a clutch on it. So you have a clutch and then a pulley. If the pulley's walking back and forth, that means the center of the compressor is going bad and the compressor needs to be changed. And then, of course, we change the compressor. So there's your options. So we're done up top. I'm going to button the bottom up, and we'll see you on the next one. Comments and everything down below. And I hope I got you some good angles on this. If not, the car lives with me, so if you need a special video showing something in particular, go ahead and let me know, either in the comments or send me an email. Email is in the channel description. And we'll see you on the next one.